One, two, three. Check, check, check. BJ, are you good? Okay. So,
Happy Monday. Welcome, guys. We obviously have a little extra time coming out of our last game, being on a Friday, to do some self-scout, get ourselves ready, get our minds, get our bodies ready to roll. We got some extra rest, so we were able to get back on the field yesterday afternoon after our meetings and get rolling and get started with our next opportunity, which, as everyone knows, is a big one, and it's exciting. I'm really grateful for the opportunity we have in front of us. Our team has done a tremendous job throughout the course of the season, being resilient, wanting to grow, looking for ways to grow as individuals, as a team. And because of those things and the hard work, we've obviously earned the right to play for the championship. And so this week will require us to be our absolute best. We got a team that's coming here to Boise that is a totally different team than when we played last. Coach Tedford's done an unbelievable job in his staff, and there are, Jake didn't play in the first game, and there will be some guys, all the way around. Both teams are different. Their team is different. Our team is different, and again, they present a lot of challenges, and that's why they are in the championship game. So we've spent the last couple days, again, self-scouting and getting ourselves ready and creating a plan in all three phases to put our guys in the best positions possible and to have a great week of practice. Let's fire away.
What's different about playing somebody a second time in the year than when you play somebody, if you got somebody for the first time?
Well, we've, there's an opportunity to see what the plan was, but again, the teams where we were at that point in the year, it was middle of the season, but it was still, it was a while ago. And they're different again, we're different again, but they all together, their DNA of what they do is not different, but they've adjusted, offensively with Jake being back and what they've been able to do production-wise. Defensively, they're doing a few things differently than even when we played last. So it was good to have, a couple days to jump in there and dive into the film and get ready to roll. But, it wasn't long ago that we had a long halftime in between and played back-to-back games. So that was very different.
What does Hayner do that makes them different?
Jake's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. His numbers, his efficiency, his production shows that. And, they've got a really, really good wide receiver core that, has been very explosive and productive throughout the course of the year, period. And so, we've got to make sure that we're very diligent with what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we're executing our techniques.
With JL, I know we asked you a little bit after the game, but what did you think about his ability to still stay pretty involved in that game, communicating with the DBs? And that was a rule change a little while ago that happened where normally that guy would have had to go to the locker room and had to watch on a TV. So how much do you maybe welcome that part of the rule change, I guess?
Yeah, we're on to the next week. It was obviously unfortunate that JL had to go out of the game, but again, that's how guys are here for their family. They're going to take care of each other no matter the circumstances, even when they're not favorable for them. It's about doing the right thing for the family, and I would, expect JL or anybody else to stay in the fight with the team, regardless of what the situation is. Obviously, very unfortunate.
Been coaching a while and been in a lot of big games and had a lot of successful seasons. But to this point, to be where you guys were and do what you've done, I know a couple weeks ago you mentioned how fun it was, the coaches group, or how fun the players were. But to be in the championship game with where you guys were at 2-2, how do you just describe the last couple of months here?
Well, there's a lot that comes from this game. This game is more than just X's and O's, more than just what we see on game day. There's a lot that, if you're involved in this game long enough, you're able to learn a ton from it, as a person, obviously as a player playing the game. But that's been the part that's been awesome to see, is our whole organization, our whole family here, how we've all grown forward and we've been resilient and pushed forward. And obviously, that's got to carry over, and we're going to need to be able to draw from our experiences and be our best this week. And you know what? Ultimately, having fun doing it, because we earned this opportunity. And we have a great challenge out in front of us, like I said, but you know, how we attack that challenge with our preparation and our process. We have the experiences, you know, through 12 games of what it is to prepare, what it is to be diligent with the process one day at a time.
In your open, you mentioned self-scout a couple of times. What did you learn about your football team in the last 72 hours?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that, otherwise we're putting it out there for other people, Mike.
The offseason, you talked a lot about, you know, wanting to get back to the culture and reinvigorating the, you know, getting back to the standard. It seems like all that has kind of come to fruition, but, you know, I'm not asking you to give away any secrets or anything, but what pillars of the culture in this place has allowed you guys to overcome the adversity you have this season?
Well, I think it always starts with anytime, you know, you're going to belong to an organization, to a family, to a business, whatever that may be, there's a certain level of commitment. And when you commit, the things that go into that commitment, the choices you make each and every day to align yourself with the greater good of whatever organization, whatever family that is, that's, again, that's not just football like we spoke about a second ago, that's life. Each one of you guys work for an organization and you guys got a vision. There's a path that you're working to go down, and everybody within that organization has to align how they're growing as individuals and what they're putting in every single day. And then to be able to create an environment where people could come here, where the standards are really high every day. There's a high expectation with urgency that's expected when you walk through those doors. But to be able to create an environment where people can learn and grow to meet that standard and to build a confidence to meet that standard.
When we talk about that, Andy, is there anything more indicative of that than some of the production you're getting out of guys that kind of buried on the depth chart, at least early in the season? I mean, even a guy like Shea, he didn't win a starting job initially, but he got a lot of playing time on Saturday. But is there anything maybe more indicative of how strong the foundation culture might be than a lot of these young guys that are really starting to progress right now? Yeah,
you know, we said all the time, sometimes things don't happen as fast as you want them to, right? You know, it's sometimes big picture, sometimes for individuals. But again, that's that level of commitment and the willingness to be persistent with the things you're doing, how you're committed to growing and thriving, and just knowing that if you stay the course at some point or another, you're going to have an opportunity, and that's when you want to be prepared and ready to go. And we're just very fortunate. We got a ton of young men in this program. Again, some of them we get to see more than others. There's a lot that, I'll be honest with you right now, that are behind the scenes that are growing and thriving, and that we're excited that, you know, in the future that they're going to be able to step out on to the blue or whatever field and be able to fulfill a role for this family. And it's pretty cool to see. And there's a ton that goes into that. It's not just the X's and O's in the meeting room. You know, there's a lot of training. There's a way of understanding how to take care of your body and your mind so that you can compete at an elite level. There's also a school factor that goes into it, because make no mistake, the guys that do start to figure it out, guess what? They figure out school too, and how to organize themselves and keep themselves efficient with their time. This is a full-time job when you combine everything together, and really that's what going to college is all about.
Guys, Andrew Simpson, like, what's been the most impressive part about the jump that he's made, and how have you seen him handle, like, playing a lot of football these last, 3 games?
Yeah, so playing that position especially, there's a lot of moving parts around you. There's a lot of responsibility that goes along with playing an inside linebacker position in this defense and most defenses. So again, the standard of which it is to prepare not only himself, but to prepare to help to lead the other guys around him and handle the communication, whether it's within the fronts, the coverages, and then be able to lock in, see your keys, and execute your job, do your job, and then be productive. And you know what? Each one of these guys that we're talking about, whether it's Shea or Drew, like each time they get an opportunity to go out there and play is an opportunity to gain experience, to learn, to grow, to do things well. And obviously there's going to be certain things that we don't do well that we've got to have the confidence to be able to learn and grow forward for our next opportunity.
Andy, what is it about the relationship you've seen between Dirk and Talon that you're pleased with, that's been encouraging? You've just seen that since day one.
Well, number one, I mean, the awesome part about, Coach, is that there's a certain standard that when you're leading, especially one side of the ball or one phase of the ball, there's a certain standard you lead with and you hold people to. And coach holds that standard no matter with players, coaches, whoever it may be. But also there's a way of building confidence too within building that standard. And that on the player's side, you know, where it comes together is the willingness to learn and grow and to be humble and to understand and take things in stride. And when we do things well, understand that, you know what, sometimes we can do them better. When we don't do things well, having the confidence to know that we're going to have the answers for you to what it is that we need to do better, and then going out there and doing it. And it's been fun to see. It's been awesome to see how it's come together. And guess what? I mean, the reality of it is, you know, they're a huge part of how that offense goes, you know. And so that relationship, whether, you know, and you get to see TG because he's obviously the one that plays, but just to see the way that quarterback room is in general, to see the way those guys are growing, the way they're getting better, I mean, that's, you know, as a coach, that's what you want to see from each position group. And I think we've seen that from, you know, all our position groups, as we were talking about earlier, where there's younger guys that are learning and growing, and you know, when they've been asked to jump in the game and have an opportunity, you know, they can get in there and handle themselves.
About Fresno's defense, what's the best attributes as you see them?
Yeah, so I mean, watching the film here, they've improved. You know, with their personnel, they've got really good personnel. You know, Evan didn't play in the first game, and he's a huge part of their defense and what they've done for a couple of years now. I mean, he's been a very productive player. He's a very instinctual, very smart, very disciplined player. And so here in the last couple games, you know, really, I mean, they've been on a 7-game winning streak here, and they've really they've adjusted a few things in how they're playing up front in terms of fronts, to give a couple different looks that has helped them. It creates more work on an offensive front and identifying certain things. But they've got some really good players. I mean, they got really good linebackers that are very consistent in their play, both in the run game and in the pass game.
You guys have obviously had a lot of history with Fresno. You go back 20-plus years with big games and stuff. You played them 3 times in the championship game. You're both the preseason pick to get to this game. I mean, they got former Broncos on their staff. Is it almost kind of fitting that this is the matchup for Saturday?
Well, I mean, they, again, the way that some of the things that they went through early on in the season, they are a different team now, and they've earned the right to be, you know, obviously in this game because of what the body of work they put forward here in the last couple months. And, you know, they year in and year out, they are obviously extremely competitive in this conference. And, you know, the preseason stuff, like we talked about way back when in the preseason, you know, for us or for whoever it is, it's really about the postseason. And when we get to this point, and they've obviously earned the right to be here because they're a really, really good team in all 3 phases.
Obviously, Jake has tremendous ability, but like, how about his toughness in that that guy just keeps firing bullets. Like, go back to the UCLA game last year, he got the crap kicked out of him. He just kept getting up. Like, what about that part of his game might stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he's been one of the most productive quarterbacks in the last couple years. I mean, really, since he's had his opportunity to be the starting quarterback, he's really, you know, it's number one, to play that position, you've got to be mentally strong. Your football IQ's obviously got to be through the roof, and then you got to have a certain skill set. And, you know, he's proven over and over again he's one of the top quarterbacks.
What do you know about Jake? I mean, he was a Pete recruit. You were there in Eugene. Did you know him through the process at all, or has it strictly been since you've been here?
For the most part, since I've been here.
And with Talon, you look at his last 5 weeks. He's the only quarterback in the country with 10 touchdowns or more and 0 interceptions. Last week we were talking to Dirk, and Dirk said that, you know, his development even has like surprised him a little bit. He's got high expectations. Has Talon's development surprised you, and what is he doing to make sure he's taking care of the ball while also being explosive?
You know what? His development has not surprised me. A couple months ago, there was a serious feeling in my stomach that, you know, about him and who he is and his ability, and number one, who he is as a person. And obviously our staff and our team felt the same way. And again, we just spoke on it in terms of his development. A lot of that comes down to him staying focused on the things that he needs to. There's a lot of external things that really a guy in his place, he doesn't, and he knows that, and he's done a good job with it. He'll need to continue to make sure that he keeps the external and focus in on what he controls every single day. And because he's done a good job of that, he's done a good job in school. We were just talking about academics on Saturday and, you know, where he's at there and how he's going to finish strong in school too. But, you know, as much as it's being a coach and developing a guy on the field, it's also helping them as young men, you know, walk the path that they need to walk and make sure that, you know, as different things try to pull us off that path, we stay where we need to be in our own space. And I think whether it's him or anybody else, as long as we do those things, we'll continue to grow and thrive. And again, we're going to need to grow this week and be our very best.
About, you know, wanting to keep Talon on that path, and obviously there's so much that goes along with being the starting quarterback at Boise State. When you're trying to design that path for him, how do you construct that? Is that you and your staff? Do you talk to mentors, other, you know, Boise State quarterbacks, Talon? Like, how do you construct that path for him?
I mean, I don't think it's any different for any. I mean, being the quarterback is different in any program that you're in. The responsibility that comes with it, what is required of you, not only to lead yourself but to lead those around you. That's a little different. But, you know, there's a lot of leadership too on, you know, other guys in this program too that are not just leaders of offense or defense. You know, we count on them, we rely on them to lead this whole team, whether they're offense and defensive players. And so it's really no different. It's a part of, again, what we spoke about before, going away and going to college and being a part of a program like this that is about teaching and developing and building skills and habits that aren't just X's and O's related. And when we can do those things, then the X's and O's improve.
Last question, everybody.
You guys are 3-1, obviously, in the title game at home. I mean, how much? It's an obvious question, I know, but I mean, just having the game at home.
Yeah.
How important is that, and how much do you need to, you know, sell some tickets this week? And
Yeah, it's awesome to be able to have the opportunity to play in the championship game, you know, at home. You don't get to play in these games. A lot of people don't get to play in these games. I mean, they could spend a long career working to be in games like this, and to get to play it at home in front of Bronco Nation right here, you know, in the Treasure Valley in our state and all that. That is a big deal. And we take great pride in that, and we're very fortunate. We're looking forward to Bronco Nation packing the house and being loud and being supportive. We say it all the time, and I think, you know, it not only shows when recruits or families or friends or people that don't get a chance to come into Albertson Stadium and see a game all the time, their experience, their first time here. I mean, people remember that, and we're very grateful to be a part of everything going on in this state, in this city right here, and you know, to be right at the forefront of it in this program. Good. Thank you, guys.
good Thanksgiving? Good.
Always good to see you guys. Jay, nice and comfy? Just kidding.
I'll start off with JL. When he was ejected, he stayed on the sideline. He was pretty engaged.
Mhm.
What did you see out of that? Again, a couple of years ago, that rule change would have made him
Yeah.
go to the locker room. So how much do you like to see that allows the players to stay on the field when something unfortunate like that happens?
No doubt. I mean, because they're a part of our team, and that's why the rule, even though he got kicked out for targeting, having him still be a part of the brotherhood and out there being able to lead and encourage is huge. And he was challenged right after, because obviously he was frustrated, and thought it should go differently, but it didn't. And so him being able to respond, and you know what, maybe I'm not on the field playing right now, but I can still lead in a major way. And there's tons of different clips on film where you see him. He's the most excited guy on the sideline. And in between series, him getting the secondary and the rest of the defense and talking to him, encouraging him. And that was just huge for him, and being able to have the rule to where you can do that, but also just for him as a leader, as who he is, seeing him grow over his years here, it was awesome to see.
What's the greatest challenge in trying to slow down?
It's a great question. I mean, he's the respect that we have, obviously, for their entire offense, how they do things schematically and how they attack defenses, I think, is one of the best in the country. But Jake Haener, is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire nation for a reason. He's tough. He can make every single throw. He can make it on time. He can create movement in the pocket. People try to rush him. He gets away from it. So he's what makes the whole thing go. And they've obviously got a lot of weapons around him as well. With Mims, the receiving core is one of the best receiving cores we'll see all year. They got a good offensive line that can run the ball but also protect him. And if something does go wrong, that's who Jake Haener can win in the gray. Like, he's a guy that something went wrong, he will make it right and turn it into a big play. And he does it consistently across all over the film. But I think the thing that I respect most about him is just how he leads that offense. I mean, he is the energizer that gets that thing moving at all times, and he seems like he's a big time encourager, leader, get guys going, and those guys are tough to beat just because they never say die, and they're going to keep swinging. So we know the task that's waiting for us. Obviously, we played them before. We know the task that's waiting for us with not only that offense that creates a lot of different issues with all the weapons, but you put Jake Haener back at the reins, we obviously know the major challenge that's coming to town.
What's impressed you with Kirby his first year as
Yeah.
OC there, maybe tendencies, play calling, you've seen him without Jake and now with Jake
Yeah.
again. What do you see there?
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Kirby and just what he's done this year. Obviously, even prior to this year, before being the offensive coordinator, a known Kirby, and I think he does obviously a hell of a job with offense schematically, and also just his offense plays really hard. And you can see that, and they play for each other. But I think he does a great job mixing it up. He shows you a ton of different formations, ton of different looks, and so he does a good job keeping the defense on their heels with all the different formations he sees, the different personnels he uses, and he mixes and matches when he's going to take his shots and when he's going to run the ball. And he does a good job making sure his playmakers are touching the ball across the entire game and making sure that he highlights his stars. And I think what he did a really good job of, even when Haener was out, was still using all their weapons and finding ways to get him the ball. If it could be wildcat, it could be different ways to get their stars the ball with Haener not in there. Now that Haener's back, I think obviously I believe they won every game since Boise, Idaho, and it shows. And I think they've done a phenomenal job. And now with Jake Haener back with the reins, it's only improved, and got a lot of respect for what he does.
The fellow was saying after the game they might have an open spot at wide receiver. You can lose Scott Matlock to that.
Yeah, I don't think we lose anybody else on defense right now. We're fighting our tails off, but no, it was so cool to see Scott catch that touchdown, and obviously where I'm at in the box, seeing it happen. I mean, it just, golly, it gave me so much joy. Then I look immediately to our sideline and just see it erupt. The guys were so excited. You talk about just bringing the team together when a big dog like Scott Matlock, who's taking double teams every snap, gets to catch a touchdown. I mean, there's nothing better. Nothing better.
You guys obviously have a bunch of guys out for various things, but as a defensive coordinator, do you kind of put the same scheme out there and have guys just be next man up, or do you have to shift your scheme in any way to adjust for your personnel?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all what your players can execute. I mean, something can sound really good or something that we do with one player, but if he can't play, then we can't use it. Because at the end of the day, it's only what your players can execute and play with a high level of confidence that makes it obviously work, or else it's just lines on a page at some point. So obviously we're looking at whoever we got, we're going to find the best way to put them in the best situations, and obviously prep them this week so they can play very confident this Saturday, and that's our job as a staff to make sure we put them in the best spots. And if it looks different because of certain guys are now having to play a lot or start, then it'll look a little different, but we're going to make sure we put our guys in great spots.
Going back to JL for a second, you've been here his whole career. Where have you seen him grow the most on and off the field?
Yeah, I would say the most I've seen him grow on the field, because even ever since he's been here, JL always plays the game very hard. He loves playing the game. He loves football. He always is flying to the ball. But where I've seen his football grow is just how much he preps to now play confidently. He loves watching film. He's studying. He's a student of the game. And so seeing him learn but he didn't start that way. Learning what it takes to prep to play confidently is what I've seen him do over the years. And just seeing him grow from not only just being a really good athlete that can make plays to where now he knows what's coming. Like he's extremely smart, high football IQ, and has taken the time to do that. And obviously, he makes a lot more plays with it that way as well. So that's, I would say, the biggest thing I've seen him grow football-wise. I would say off the field, just his leadership. I mean, he's a guy that will go in front of the room. Whatever room it is, could be full defensive meeting, position meeting, full team, and he can lead that meeting. And he has a presence about himself to where he can speak, he can be clear and concise, and everybody on our team looks to him and respects JL Skinner. And he's one of our biggest leaders on our team, and seeing him grow in that over his time here has been awesome to see. And I'm excited for him to continue to do that as well.
You mentioned that he plays the game really hard, but you've also seen him play really smart at times this year.
Yes.
Against Wyoming, he was in position to make those 2 big picks. As a safety especially, how important is it to kind of toe that line between playing violent and playing smart?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, if anything gets past them, it's a touchdown. And so we talk about setting the umbrella on the back end. It's at the end of the day, they can't be wrong. As long as maybe we wanted to play a certain coverage or a certain check, but as long as our safeties are on the same page, we're at least going to find a way to get it down and be on the same page. We'll be okay. And so making sure just playing hard out there recklessly, you can't do it at safety, because if they're wrong, it's out. And everybody in the country knows that we were wrong on that play. And so having to play with that controlled violence, that controlled aggression to where you can do it within the scheme and do it within the technique is really everything. And then taking the time to prep so you know exactly what my keys tell me. Okay, how does my technique change based on formation, based on splits? And then now, once the ball's snapped, I know exactly what my keys tell me. Now I can go execute it at a very violent level. And that has shown from him, obviously, over the past couple of years.
With Devin Wright, what was kind of the plan when he came in terms of how much you guys thought he might play? You had some depth in that position. Now you obviously don't.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to him on Wednesday. What have you seen from Devin and his kind of progression to this point?
Yeah, no doubt. I think Devin, and just to name him, but there's even a couple other guys where I think going into the year we felt like this is going to be a great situation for you to keep developing. We're going to keep pushing him even through spring ball and fall camp, junior college transfer. So this was the first time he's kind of been through the 4-year university and kind of the standard at which it is. And he's a phenomenal young man, joy to be around. And he had a lot of guys, or not a lot, but he had a couple guys in front of him that he could learn from and grow from. And then obviously through injuries, now he's had to step up and have a much bigger role. And so it's just been cool to see him from where he came in January to where he is now, BJ, and in November, seeing him grow as a football player, knowledge of all our defense. Coach Kagi did a great job with him in the offseason, changing his body, getting big and strong. And so he's grown in a ton of different areas and excited for his future here, and he's only going to get better. He loves the game, plays extremely hard, and it's been cool to see him, these other guys go down, next man up mentality, and a guy that early on didn't play much, now is playing a lot, and him stepping into that role and being able to do a good job has been huge. So I'm very proud of him, and obviously it's going to be a huge week for him to continue to grow.
Mountain West Awards come out tomorrow, and DJ Schramm's going to get some votes. I have no idea if he's going to win anything.
Yeah.
We've talked about him a lot this season. But
Yeah.
just his journey from where he was to potential defensive player of the year.
Yeah. I mean, guys, and there's a lot of guys obviously on this defense that will get choked up talking about because I'm around them every day, and I see the work that a lot of people don't. I see the pain that they push through to get to these moments where everybody sees them. And DJ's just to name a couple. That's why when I talk about these seniors and the guys that have been here, it pulls at my heartstrings because I know what they've been through. I've seen it. I've sat there when times were hard or when no one knew they were there, and they're up at 5:30 in the cold working, right? So I think of those moments when I see what everybody else sees. I remember those times. And so DJ, thinking about him and just speaking on him, is I remember times when nobody knew who DJ was, but he still worked. He was still one of the first ones in the linebacker room, right? He wasn't going to play, maybe a little bit on special teams, but he wasn't in the game plan much. But he just kept working, kept growing his body, surgery on his shoulder, surgery on a hip, keep working. Still the first one in the meeting room, still taking notes, still bringing great energy. Not, okay, I'm going to do that when my time comes. No, I'm going to keep working in the dark because my time's coming. And I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm just going to keep working. And him just doing that year after year when nobody knows. But now he's ready for these moments. And that's why it doesn't bring me any more joy than seeing that, because it's just, you deserve that. You deserve when you work hard every day, when no one's looking. You're not looking for anybody to give you a high five or tell you, oh, you deserve. No, I'm just going to keep working. When those things pay off to create the season that DJ's had, it brings me just countless joy for him, because he deserves it. He deserves it. And so, obviously, just like every guy on the team, I'm going to keep getting on DJ for some certain things for him to grow. But, I mean, I was literally just with him an hour ago. I mean, he played 80 snaps or whatever it was in the game on Saturday, and he's in here grinding on tape, getting some freshmen in there. That's just who he is. He's always going to be working. He doesn't look for any glory. He just wants to keep working and take care of his brothers. And if he walks in any position room, into a team meeting, you ask anybody who one of their favorite players is, I promise you he'd be in the top 5 of guys that they just love this kid, because he's low ego, high output in everything he does.
You think he's got a shot to play on Sundays? I mean, you're probably going to say nice things about him when scouts call him one time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he has a year or not on COVID, but can DJ Shram play on Sunday?
I mean, the thing about DJ is he is one of the smartest football players I've ever been around. I think Scott, DJ, there's a couple guys on our team that just are extremely smart football players. And DJ, what he can do is I can tell him one thing in a meeting room on a Tuesday morning, and he will remember it in the fourth quarter, play 62, where they're driving, right? He has that type of football IQ where, all right, I know when the tailback's here, this area, like he's just that guy. And then when you put a savvy tackler, good blitzer, like these things together, you get the production you see in DJ Shram right now. And so NFL to however he is going to go going forward, all I know is I love him playing for the Broncos, and you won't find a guy that's a bigger supporter of DJ Shram and excited what he's done thus far than me.
What was your reaction to Shea's pick 6, and where do you think he's grown the most this season?
No, I'm so fired up for him, man. Especially that route concept has hit us a couple times before, and seeing him play it right, do the technique right, and go score was awesome for him. And Shea's another one where there was times this year where he didn't play as much because we, the starters we had in place, and was able to get in. He usually played in every game, but not a ton. And so seeing him, same thing. Just, okay, if it's this week or if it's next week, I'm going to keep growing my skills, keep growing my craft and practice. Maybe it's more a bigger role in special teams. And then seeing him now obviously having to step up in a major role with Tyreek Jones and a couple other guys being banged up. It was awesome to see him perform and get that pick, obviously in a big-time moment in the game. And then obviously this is going to be a huge week for him, and him stepping into that role this week is going to be big. And but got a lot of respect for Shea. He's one of our best cover guys on our team. And then seeing him now grow and being able to play different zone techniques and blitz and some of the other things that we need that nickel position to do, he's grown those a lot. And so it's been cool to see. Oh, yeah.
You had a walk-on freshman playing safety for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
What is the key to getting through all that, and how do you figure out that way to put guys in position to succeed?
No, good question, Jay. And it's been a lot of growth for me, through it, because as you create a plan defensively to attack an offense, you're seeing, like we were just talking about, it's all about what your players can execute. And if we want to play man coverage, but he can't cover that guy, that's a problem, or whatever it might be, right? We want to go win on this tackle, but our guy can't win, then that's a problem, right? You got to create different ways to do it. And so at the end of the day, I'm so proud of our guys being able to step up in these roles and play, which honestly, to start the season, you wouldn't have thought they had to. You would have think this could be a year where, hey, keep growing, keep developing, play some special teams, and then, your time's coming maybe next year or so forth. But there's been a lot of guys that have had to step up into big roles because of the amount of injuries we've had on defense. And so, and extremely proud of them not blinking. Like, to your point, there's guys that played on Friday that prior to the season probably did not think they were going to play much. And then just continue to work, continue to grow, continue to be in meetings and soaking things up and asking older guys. But then defensively for us, it's just, okay, how can we put our players in the best situation? Even in the game, and hats off to our staff, we went into the game a little bit banged up, some guys out, and then obviously having some things happen in the game where we lost even more guys. Hats off to our staff talking, okay, what are the best things our guys can execute? What are the things that we can use here where they can play fast, play confident? And that's the biggest thing for me is always, when you get that call from the sideline, are you going to be like, oh, no, okay, coach, are you sure about that one? Or are you going to get him back? I can do that. I'm confident in it. I know how I can line up, and I can execute it. And that's always the goal for me is making sure every call they get, they can be confident in and execute. And hats off to our staff kind of creating a plan with certain guys in later in the game that they can go execute.
Last question. Jordan Mims has been productive for Fresno State for years. What stands out about him on film?
Yeah, he's been doing a great job for years. And the thing that I like about Mims, and obviously he's tough to go against him, not only can he pound him between the tackles, they split him out in empty. He's a great route runner. He can catch the ball in the backfield on wheels and option routes, and he's a really good pass protector. So very rarely do you see a back be able to do all three. Usually, all right, we're going to sub you out when it's time to pass pro, or we're going to put a different guy in, we're going to flex him out in empty, and they feel confident, and it makes sense because he can do all three. He can catch the ball in the backfield, he can line up in empty, he can run the ball in between the tackles, and so just got a lot of respect for his game, and it makes it tough when you're game planning against a tailback that can do all these certain things. And once again, especially with a quarterback like Hainer, there's a lot of different ways you got to attack him, but you better be ready to stop number 7 because he runs violently, and he obviously did a really good job against us the first time we played him. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys as always. Merry Christmas. Thanks, guys. See you guys.
Science class.
Good afternoon.
You've mentioned every week trying to put a little bit more on Taylor's plate. Was that something that, like, when you took over with him, did you create like this, weeks-long path, or do you go week by week and see,
No.
what he can handle and go from there?
Week by week, for sure. I mean, when I first came, that was more day by day at that point. But yeah, it's been week by week for sure.
What has Talon and this experience taught you, Coach?
What has it taught me? I think the one thing is even for someone who's been around football as much as me, it's a good example of how all these college teams have 100+ guys on them, and they all got here somehow. Somebody thought they were good enough, but sometimes you get a depth chart going, and then reps are staggered based on where you're at on the depth chart. And sometimes maybe a guy doesn't really have a chance to show how good he is just because of the way the cards are dealt. And I mean, as I've said many weeks, Talon has far exceeded my expectations, even if, when I was watching him before. But sometimes you just got to get a chance, right? You just got to get your chance to get in there. And I'm sure there's plenty of times when it's not going to go at the rising level that Talon has, but he sure has.
Where did he take his game to at a level on Saturday? What stood out there based on the last 6 weeks?
Just Talon, the ability for him to throw the ball downfield and throw it in the end zone, especially the one to Latrell that he threw. That was a complicated coverage that they were in. Now, they didn't execute that coverage very well, but that would have fooled a lot of guys what they were trying to do. And for him to see it and throw it on time, he didn't play a perfect game by any chance, by any means. I mean, he has some balls he'd like to get back. He had some deep balls where we had guys open, and he didn't hit them. But the other thing is just his knowledge of switching protections at the line of scrimmage, and he's got a fair amount on him in the run game. So, he still just continues to grow every week. Yeah, there seems like there's more and more of them coming around now. Like it seems to be more, but I've never coached a guy like that could do that. And think of all the great running backs that have come through this place, and for him to get the longest one, I mean, that was impressive for sure. Game over. That's what was going through my mind. Game over. As soon as he turned that corner, and it was back to a one-score game. We were backed up. They still had at least one timeout left, so we had to make at least one first down, or they were going to, try to block a punt or get the ball back and have a shot. You never know what's going to happen, but yeah, game over as soon as he turned that corner. Yeah, I think very high ceiling. I think you folks have a lot to look forward to with Eric. He size, range, speed, really a smart player, a student of the game. Like, he's one guy that's constantly giving me suggestions during the game. Most of these guys are afraid to talk to me. He's like telling me 17 things when I'm freezing at Wyoming, and he pays attention to what's going on out there.
Green, Ashton, Eric McAllister, all from a small area in Texas, all young. How do you see them interacting on and off the football field? Do they seem like that they're a kind of a tight trio that could do a lot of damage around here for the next couple of years?
Yeah, they do. I think the way I would just, when you say how do I see them interacting, all three of those guys are really good teammates. I mean, they're just popular guys. As much as I've moved around over the years, one thing is there's different parts of the country where young men growing up seem to really love football more than others, and Texas is one of those, and the South is another one. But I'd say the one thing is all three of those guys they're all about football, but they also know how to have a good time and really good teammates.
You spent a lot of time coaching Talon to become a better quarterback. A lot of that's mentally. Now he's in the championship game, so the moment is bigger. He also might get into this mentality of having to out-track Jake Hainer, because this could be a very offensive game. Do you have to get into his mind a little bit more this week?
So far, I'd say that Talon has handled himself really well with just going out there and playing the game. So I would anticipate that's what he'll do.
Yeah, I think any of that kind of stuff will probably come from outside sources. Taylor just doesn't seem like that would be in his mindset the way I see him.
It's cliche now with young quarterbacks, turning the ball over, making, poor decisions. But if you look at the last 5 weeks, there's one quarterback in the country with 10 or more touchdown passes and no turnovers in place for you. How has Taylor been able to, take care of the ball but also be explosive in a number of ways?
Yeah, that's probably been one of my biggest surprises is how Taylor has avoided turnovers. Let's face it, he waves that ball around a little bit when he's running, and that's not what we're coaching everybody to do. And he's just shown really good touch throwing the ball in the middle of the field. So, I think in the 8 games, we have 8 turnovers in 8 games. So, normally a pretty realistic goal for an offense is to have 1 or less turnovers a game. So 8 in 8 games we could live with, and obviously our goal every week is 0.
You didn't think he'd be in this position, so you've asked this question before, but you're way past the emotional stage of your life, or maybe, I don't know. This will be your last coaching game, I would assume. You're not going to make this dumb decision ever. Any kind of emotions and thoughts about just the last 6 weeks, the last 8 weeks, and it'll definitely be over for you on the blue on Saturday.
Yeah, to be honest, I hadn't given that 1 second of thought. Like right now, it's a normal Monday, and you got a ton of film built up there to watch a very good Fresno defense, and that's really all we're thinking about right now. Andy does a great job of how he talks to these guys about it's all in the preparation, and that's just what we're doing right now.
You did say when you came back, one of the reasons was for the seniors and your sons, your players, to have a chance to finish and to now be in the title game. Is there some, I know it's not just you, obviously, but I mean, is there some satisfaction with where the team is now, and this is kind of why you came back, right?
Well, again, I haven't, we haven't. Now's not the time to reflect on that kind of stuff. So. This is just a work day to me. This is just a Monday, and the players are definitely excited. You could tell when they came back. They had Saturday off. When they came back, we had a team meeting and a little light practice yesterday. Players are excited, and they know what it is. And I mean, shoot, it's up there on the wall what they play for, and we have really good leadership on this team, and we have vocal leaders. And there was players that were saying things yesterday. But it's still, like, Andy keeps these guys grounded. It's in the preparation. It's what we do this week. And, Fresno's a very good football team, much improved from when we played them the first time. And, it's going to be a really good Saturday championship football game.
You mentioned how well the job Andy's done, kind of keeping the main thing for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
If Taylor goes on and wins this game, being the star quarterback in a place like Boise State brings media and attention and all that stuff. How it seems like he's a guy who is well equipped to handle that. And, what do you think? How is he going to handle that?
I don't know. All this name, image, likeness stuff and all that. I know he's got one deal right now, and I give him a hard time about it. I'm sure he's gonna do better. But again, Taylon's a happy kid playing football and getting better every week. And I'm not sure that right now between school and football he has time to think about, and then his family, he doesn't have a whole lot else to think about. But I don't ask him those kind of questions. I mean, I have fun with him in the meetings, coach him hard in practice, and enjoy watching him play on Saturday.
He hasn't gotten you any free pizza yet?
We got to me and him. We're gonna do a little trade-off. My NIL is for free chlorine, and his is for pizza. We're gonna do a pizza chlorine swap.
Andy at times this year has mentioned fake confidence and real confidence.
Yeah.
When it comes to a guy like Latrell Caples, how much real confidence does he have? You just kind of enjoyed listening to him after the game where on that touchdown, he said that he was like, we knew Utah State was not going to communicate that, and he hit him big.
One of the things I really admire about Latrell is he's kind of a quiet kid, and he was one of the kids that I had a harder time getting to know early when I was watching. But now that I do know him better, he is a really honest kid, and he'll call it like he sees it, and even if it's his fault. I appreciate that about him a lot. And as far as the real confidence, fake confidence, again, that's another thing Andy stresses, and I can't think of one guy off the top of my head that sits in these seats that has fake confidence.
The Clydesdale package, I know, was kind of in before you obviously took over at OC, but you obviously continued to utilize that, and you got Scott another touchdown, I think, on the same play they ran last year. What do you like about that package, and how have you kind of just stuck with what was working or adapted that at all too?
Yeah, well, everybody has a goal line package, where you call it your 23, 2 backs, 3 tight ends, and you put those D linemen are fighting to get on that team. And before I got here, going even back into last year, they did a really good job with that. And if you look at how those guys block on the perimeter, that's been very successful the last 2 years for Boise State. There's only so many plays you can run out of that personnel group, and we only have a handful out of that. So when they either have to commit to sell out to stop the run, or you're going to run it in on them, that's pretty much what it boils down to. If you can get movement, and that's where those big D linemen on the edges can get a little bit more movement than our normal tight ends can. So, you're always going to have at least one pass built in there. That basic goal line pass that he scored on last year and same score. If you look at the NFL every year, that's the number 1 goal line pass every year. The nub side tight end running a corner and the fullback in the flat. That's every team has that play.
Obviously, you're focused on Saturday, but you also know Charlie Ragle very well. And unfortunately, news of today. The question is, this profession, mentally, physically, health-wise, spits you up and chews you out, or however the phrase goes. Your thoughts on Charlie and a really tough decision that he had to make?
Yeah, it's extremely disappointing to me. I talked to Charlie yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it's very disappointing because of the people that you leave behind, the staff, the athletic director and president who hired you, the people that believed in you. It's a tough job, right? That's a tough job. They're all tough jobs, but when you're trying to rebuild them, they're really tough, and it can wear on you in a lot of ways. Been there, so I understand it. So it's disappointing to me that Charlie didn't give it more time than 11 months, but at the same time, I don't walk in his shoes, and every person has the right to live their life. And the way this coaching thing works right now, I'm sure Charlie probably doubled his money, if not more, by going back to another job. So it's just I feel bad for the people that are left behind, because, like I said, I've been on both sides of that.
Kirk, it seems like Talon will look downfield a lot of times before check down, and I want to know, you guys have been striking deep. Is that rare that a quarterback that young would do that? The situation seems like a lot of guys will take the same route first and just move on to the next play, but he is not turning the ball over either. But you guys are going down the field a lot.
Yeah, well, trust me, it's way better to have a guy doing it that way than the other way. It's hard to break a guy out of captain check down mode and get him to go the other way. Now, there's times when we've been trying to get Talon, hey, you need to check that one down. So that's something he's going to have to improve on checking the ball down. But if those guys are open down the field, keep hitting them. Good key coaching point there. Keep hitting those open guys down the field.
Thanks, Coach. You actually have a Korean NIL deal?
Yeah, I do.
Who's it with?
I better not say.